Your family is the first and most effective assassin of your ambitions. Have you ever noticed how after talking to your parents about a big goal, you suddenly feel guilt and a desire to come back down to earth? This is not love. This is emotional terror. Those closest to you inject a dose of fear into your plans so that you remain a predictable and convenient slave to their system. If you start making excuses to them, you have already lost. Today, I will reveal 10 methods by which the family suffocates your success, and I will give you an information protection protocol. By the end of this video, you will understand why your triumph requires an exile from the family paradise. Write "My life, my choice" in the comments. Let us begin. A family is not just a group of relatives, it is a closed biological system that is terrified of any change. In dark psychology, this is called the law of homeostasis. Its essence is simple and brutal. The system will do everything to maintain the current state of affairs, even if that state is a swamp. Any jump upward, any ambition that goes beyond their understanding, is perceived by the system as a direct threat to its comfort and stability. If you become truly wealthy, famous, or simply free, you will break the habitual hierarchy where you have occupied the role of the obedient child or the convenient assistant for years. Your transformation makes them feel like failures. To avoid changing their own lives, it is easier for them to stifle yours. Niccolò Machiavelli understood that the old elite always hates the new power rising from below. Your family is that very old elite in your micro-universe. They want to maintain power over your time, your thoughts, and your future. In their world, you are a predictable element.
As soon as you declare your ambitions, the system turns on suppression mode. They start trading love. They give it out in small portions when you are convenient and take it away instantly as soon as you show character. This is not care. This is emotional blackmail through loyalty. Imagine a typical situation. You decide to invest all your savings into a new high-tech profession or move to a major metropolis to enter the global market. The family reaction is, "Why do you need this? You have a stable job here. We are nearby. Everything is clear. You just want to abandon us." They are not talking about your prospects. They are talking about their fear of losing control over you. They use the crab effect. As soon as one crab tries to get out of the bucket, the rest cling to him and pull him back to the bottom. Not out of malice, but out of instinct. Be like us, and we will be calm. To break free, you must apply the technique of psychological detachment, the refusal of approval. When you share plans and wait for the family to say, "Well done," you give them a vote in your destiny. A leader does not ask permission, he states a fact. If you are looking for praise, you are still a child and not an architect of reality. The look from above. In dark psychology, this is a technique of mental distancing. When they start pulling you down with their fears, look at them not as a supreme authority, but as limited people who simply do not see the horizon that you see. Your look should express calm regret, not anger. The closed-circuit protocol. Share only results. Never discuss the process, doubts, or details of the strategy. Your internal kitchen must be sterile from their pessimism. If success has not yet been achieved, for them it does not exist. Your triumph is possible only when you recognize that the old system must be destroyed so that on its ruins you can build your own empire. You are not betraying the family. You are outgrowing a cage that has become too tight for you. A true Machiavellian knows that to save the state, sometimes you need to change the ruling dynasty in your own head. The first and most insidious tool of control is the phrase, "We're just worried about you." On the outside, it looks like a soft pillow of support, but inside it is a paralyzing poison that drop by drop undermines your confidence in your own strength. A typical scenario is a Sunday dinner in an American suburb where you share an ambitious plan to launch your startup or go into aggressive trading. Instead of constructive analysis, you hear a soft choking, "Honey, we just do not want you to get burned again." There is a crisis right now. The market is unstable, and you have no experience in this niche. Maybe it is better to wait another couple of years. We are saying this only because we love you. In dark psychology, this is called gaslighting through virtue. They are not attacking your business idea, they are attacking your ability to make adult decisions. Their love in this context is just a form of social insurance. It is calmer for them to see you poor but understandable and safe than rich and uncontrollable. Your uncertainty is their comfort. Remember how often you gave up a bold idea after a call from your mother or father. You hang up the phone and your enthusiasm evaporates, replaced by a sticky feeling of anxiety. This is the result of the poison injection. They used your trust to implant their fears in you. This is a classic example of the loser projection. A person who has not realized themselves will subconsciously do everything so that their loved ones also remain in the zone of mediocrity. This way, their own life seems less gray to them. To maintain your frame, you must implement a strict information isolation protocol, the closed door principle. Stop discussing your drafts with those who are afraid of final copies. The family is the last place to look for business advice or psychological approval for a breakthrough. Your plans should mature in silence. Transmission of finished facts. Inform the family only about events that can no longer be canceled. You do not ask, "What do you think? Should I quit?" You say, "I quit, and tomorrow I start a new position." This leaves no room for their care. The kind pause technique. When they start worrying again, apply the secret look. Look at them with a light, almost fatherly smile. Hold the pause and say, "I appreciate your concern, but this matter is already settled." Do not explain how or why. Luboje objaśnienie is a hole in your armor. Your ambition is your internal capital. Do not trade it for the approval of people who live in fear of the future. A true leader knows that sometimes, to save your destiny, you need to temporarily become cold and ungrateful in the eyes of those who want to see you weak. The second fundamental method of suppression is using your past as a debt prison. In dark psychology, this is called emotional hostage-taking. Your family keeps a detailed accounting of all the meals you ate and all the sleepless nights they spent by your bed 20 years ago. Now, when you are ready to make a leap to independence, they present this check for payment. Imagine a classic situation. You are offered the contract of your life, but it requires moving to another state or even another continent. As soon as you report this, the atmosphere in the house changes. Instead of pride, you meet heavy sighs and tragic looks. The reaction follows immediately. Again, you only think of yourself. What about your father's bad back? And who will help your mother with the garden? We invested so much in you, denied ourselves everything so you could get an education, and you just abandon us for some career. This is the guilt injection. You are forced to make a false choice between personal success and the status of a good person. The Stoics taught that your main duty is the realization of your destiny.
If you betray your spark for the temporary peace of relatives, you will turn into a bitter shadow of yourself. In the end, you will begin to hate those for whose sake you made this sacrifice. Today, this method is often camouflaged as traditional values. They try to convince you that physical presence next to your parents is more important than creating your own legacy. Manipulators use your compassion as shackles. They emphasize their weakness so that you feel like a tyrant. No pravda v tom that a truly loving family is a launching pad, not an anchor. If you are being pulled back, it is not love driving them, but the fear of being left alone with their boring reality. To break out of this loop, you need to implement a strict responsibility separation protocol. The cold recognition technique. Do not try to prove that you are good. Do not list your past services to the family. When they tell you that you are abandoning them, use the formula, "I understand that you will miss my physical help, but this decision is necessary for my scaling. I am sure you are strong enough to cope." The secret look of the rock. At the moment when they pressure you with tears or complaints about health, do not look away. Look directly, calmly, and a bit distantly. Your face should transmit an unshakable confidence in your path. Any shadow of doubt on your face is a signal for the manipulator to increase the pressure. The destruction of the debt monopoly. Understand that your gratitude to your parents is not a lifetime subscription to your slavery. You pay the debt by becoming a strong and successful man they can be proud of, not by turning into a domestic servant who buries his ambitions in the backyard. If you allow the guilt injection to work, you will lose not only your career, but also your personality.
A true architect knows that to build a skyscraper, you must first dig a deep foundation pit and forever move away from the surface to which others are accustomed. The third method of suppressing ambition is buying your loyalty through free help. In dark psychology, this is called golden handcuffs. The family pays for your prestigious education, closes your debts, or makes the first payment for your house in a good neighborhood. On the outside, it looks like unconditional generosity and parental nobility. But inside, every such check is a hidden contract clause, the right to dictate how you breathe, who you sleep with, and what career you build. As long as you take their resource, you remain their property. You voluntarily traded your sovereignty for a soft chair and the absence of risk. The system deprives you of the main stimulus for growth, the feeling of hunger and danger. Machiavelli knew that mercenary troops would never fight for a ruler the way his own would. When you live on family money, you are a mercenary in your own life. You are not an investor, you are a manager of their expectations. As soon as you mention a risky startup or moving, you are immediately reminded, "We did not give you this money so you could flush it away. We earned it with hard work, and you are obligated to manage it responsibly." By responsibly, they always mean the way we want. Imagine a young specialist in New York or Chicago. His parents bought him an apartment so he would not struggle with rent. Now, every Sunday they arrive without warning, check the cleanliness, and criticize his choice of partner. When he decides to leave the corporation to start his own business, his mother says, "We bought this apartment so you would have a reliable base for stable work, not for your adventures." At that moment, the apartment turns from an asset into a solitary confinement cell. You fell into a comfort trap from which it is almost impossible to get out without losing face. If you want to build an empire,
you must immediately start a bridge-burning protocol of independence. Refusal of gifts with a hidden bottom. Stop accepting large sums if there is control behind them. It is better to live in a rented studio on the outskirts, but be the master of your schedule, than in a penthouse where you are told what time to turn off the lights. The secret look of independence. When you are offered help, look at the giver calmly and directly. Say, "I appreciate your offer, but I will handle it myself. It is important for me to walk this path on my own resources." This is not pride, it is a declaration of your adulthood.
If they take offense at your refusal, it means it was not a gift, but an attempt at power seizure. Liquidation of debt obligations. If you have already taken money, create a clear plan for its return. Turn help into a loan with a payment schedule. As soon as the last cent returns to the parents, their right to a vote in your life is canceled. A true leader takes resources from the market, from investors, from the world, but never asks for them from parents if he wants to maintain his iron frame. Your freedom is worth much more than any bank transfer from the family. Remember, the architect builds on his own foundation. Otherwise, the building can be demolished at any moment by the one who owns the land. The fourth method of suppression is the use of social comparison within your own pack. In dark psychology, this is called triangulation. The family artificially creates an image of a model relative so that against their background you always feel defective, not successful enough, or problematic. This is a classic manipulation, the goal of which is to make you run for the carrot of their approval along a road you did not choose. Imagine a classic family dinner for Thanksgiving or Christmas. The atmosphere seems warm until a mother or father drops a casual line. "By the way, did you hear that Stephen from Chicago became a junior partner at his law firm? He bought his parents a cruise to the Caribbean and completely renovated their kitchen. Such a reliable, grounded guy. You can always count on him, not like some dreamers who are always searching for themselves and wasting time on questionable ideas." This is a direct blow to your identity. You are being pulled into a competition in a discipline that is absolutely not interesting to you. The system wants you to feel a sting of jealousy or shame and start proving your value by becoming a copy of Stephen. If you joined this argument and started listing your achievements, you recognized Stephen as the standard. You voluntarily put on the label of a participant in their rat race for the title of best son. Manipulators love to compare your risky startups with the reliable career of someone in the inner circle. Stephen, in this scheme, is not a living person, but a tool of pressure. His success is used as a club to beat the last bits of confidence out of your chosen path. You are sent the message, your path is a mistake because it does not bring us immediate dividends and pride in front of the neighbors like Stephen's path. This is an attempt to castrate your ambition through a feeling of inferiority. To maintain your iron frame, you must learn to exit this imposed hierarchy, the mirror indifference method. When you are compared to Stephen, apply the secret look. Look at the speaker, calmly, almost bored.
"Stephen is doing great. That is an excellent, clear path for him. I am glad everything is working out for him." And that is it. You do not defend yourself. You do not belittle Stephen. You simply mark him as a statistical unit from a parallel world that has nothing to do with you. Emotional link break. Realize that Stephen is not a competitor, but just a character in their script. Your strategy is a marathon in a different league. An architect does not compete with a carpenter, even if the carpenter earns more right now. You have different goals and different horizons.
The secret look of the master of reality. If the pressure continues, use the look from above the situation. Look at the manipulator as if you were watching a child trying to compare an airplane with a bicycle. Your composure is your shield. When they do not see pain or a desire to make excuses in your eyes, their manipulation loses all meaning. You are not obligated to be the reliable guy in their understanding. You are obligated to be faithful to your purpose. A true leader knows it is better to be the black sheep building his empire than the golden cousin living someone else's life for a cruise for the parents. The fifth method of suppression is the psychological injection of other people's failures. In dark psychology, this is called fear transfer. Your family tries to impose their own defeats on you under the guise of life wisdom. If your father was afraid to take a risk 30 years ago, he will do everything so that you do not take a risk today. Your success will become for him not a reason for pride, but a living, painful proof of his own cowardice. They use your childhood image to devalue the adult strategist. In their eyes, you have forever remained that child who lost keys, confused shoes, and needed a hint. They project your past inexperience onto your future greatness. When you talk about entering the international market or investing in risky assets, they do not analyze the market, they analyze their own old failures. No one in our family has ever been rich. We did not live rich, so there is no reason to start. Look at neighbor Harry. He also tried and now works in construction. These are not arguments, these are epitaphs on their own dreams. They want you to lose with them because the loneliness of a loser is unbearable. If you achieve success, their cozy world of excuses that the time was like that or they were unlucky will collapse. Imagine that you want to leave employment for free swimming. Your relative who sat in one position for 30 years out of fear of change will start painting pictures of the apocalypse for you. He will remember the defaults of the last century, the collapse of companies, and personal tragedies of acquaintances. He does this not to save you, but to justify his immobility. If you succeed, it means he was afraid all this time for nothing. This is an admission he cannot afford. To not become a landfill for their fears, you must implement an emotional isolation protocol. The empty container method. When they start transmitting their defeats, do not argue and do not try to convince them. Just nod and use a filler phrase. I heard your opinion, thank you. This is not agreement. This is formal politeness that doesn't let the poison into your system.
You turn into an empty container through which their words pass without touching the walls. The secret look of alienation. Look at them as historical characters from another era. Their advice was relevant in a world that no longer exists. Your calm, slightly detached facial expression will show that you are no longer part of their mental hierarchy. The biological link break. Understand that your DNA does not obligate you to repeat their fate. You are a new iteration with different tools and different possibilities. Your victory is the best answer to their projections, but until the moment of victory, they should not know about your steps. Your life is not a second chance for your parents to correct their mistakes. This is your only chance to build your own empire. A true architect knows that to build a new building, you must first clear the site of old garbage, even if that garbage is called family experience.
The sixth method of suppression is the systematic collection of data under the guise of a heartfelt conversation. In dark psychology, this is called vulnerability reconnaissance. Your family asks about the smallest details of your work, relationships, or household difficulties, not out of selfless interest at all. They are looking for weak spots in your armor to use them as levers of pressure on your ambitions at the right moment. You make a fatal mistake when in a minute of weakness or fatigue, you complain to your loved ones about a difficult client, a payment delay, or sleepless nights. For you, this is a temporary difficulty, the natural price of growth. For them, it is legal evidence of your incompetence. Any complaint of yours tomorrow will turn into an indictment of your plans. As soon as you mention the next step, the system instantly dumps the accumulated dossier. Remember how you cried on the phone 3 months ago? You are not coping. Your nerves are giving out. Maybe stop torturing yourself and us? Drop all this. Come back to your hometown. We will find you a quiet place in the administration. Imagine an entrepreneur sharing with his mother that his new project requires 14 hours of work a day. He expects recognition of his hard work. Instead, the mother starts calling him every evening and lamenting about his terrible appearance and undermined health. She uses his own words about fatigue to devalue his goal. In her hands, this information becomes a tool of the castration of his will. She wants him to return to a state of a safe vegetable, because his success requires emotional tension from her for which she is not ready. To stop being an object of espionage, you must implement a strict data filtering protocol, the facade protocol. Tell the family only about the results that have already happened and that cannot be canceled. If the deal is not closed, it does not exist. If the contract is not signed, you do not mention it. Your family should see only your success, but never the price you pay for it.
The secret look of the observer. When you are asked leading questions about your difficulties, look at the speaker calmly and slightly distantly. Answer with universal phrases. Everything is going according to plan. Working moments, nothing unusual. I am in full control of the situation. Your voice should transmit the confidence of a rock, even if a storm is raging inside. The ban on whining. Never look for sympathy from those who fear your assent. A complaint to parents is a voluntary surrender of positions. Look for support from mentors, partners, or in your inner circle, but at home, hold the iron frame of the master of the space. Your sincerity is a weapon that will be used against you. A true Machiavellian knows that information is power. If you give data about your weaknesses to a system that wants to maintain homeostasis, you are forging your own chains. The family should know about your life exactly as much as is needed to maintain formal peace, but no more than is needed to maintain your freedom. The seventh, and perhaps the dirtiest method in the arsenal of family suppression, is the direct linking of the physical survival of relatives to your career ambitions. In dark psychology, this is called somatic blackmail. The family makes your move forward a biological crime. Your idea to move risk capital or change a stable track for the thorny path of a leader is presented not as a risk, but as an attempted murder. Phrases like, "Your ideas will give your mother a heart attack," or "Your father's blood pressure spiked when he found out about your resignation," are the highest form of manipulation. You are appointed responsible for the autonomic nervous system of another adult. The system puts you before an impossible choice. Either you betray your purpose or you become the killer of your own parents.
This is a trap into which the most worthy and empathetic men fall. The manipulator uses your conscience as a detonator. If you take a step toward your goal, they will press the button, simulating a heart attack or a hypertensive crisis. It is important to understand that in the vast majority of cases, this is a psychosomatic theater, the goal of which is to paralyze your will and return you to the stable of predictability. Imagine that you received a grant to study in Europe or a seat on the board of directors in another time zone. You are full of energy, but at home, you are met with grave silence and bottles of heart medicine on the table. The mother lies with a towel on her forehead, and the father looks at you like a traitor to the family. They do not need your money or your success. They need you to sit nearby and confirm the correctness of their small world with your presence. They are ready to sacrifice your future for their momentary sense of control. To survive in this psychological war, you must apply the responsibility loop technique, the principle of reality separation. Realize the fundamental truth that every adult is responsible for their emotions and their reaction to external events.
You are not the cause of their illness. The cause is their inability to adapt to your adulthood. The secret look of the surgeon. When you are presented with a heart attack in response to your news, do not fall into a panic. Maintain an icy calm. Look at the situation like a doctor. Assess if there is a real threat to life, and do not let the manipulation feed on your fear. The steel refusal formula. Say calmly and softly, looking directly in the eyes, "I am sincerely sorry that you chose to perceive this so painfully. However, my decision is made and it is not subject to discussion. I am ready to help with doctors, but I will not give up my path." You are not destroying their world, but you are resolutely refusing to enter it in the role of a hostage. As soon as they realize that illness is no longer a lever, their well-being will miraculously return to normal. A leader knows that if you allow them to manage you through fear for their health, you will never build anything great, because at every sharp turn, you will be slowed down by someone else's pills. Now the time has come for the most brutal stage, the moment of truth. Look honestly at your plans, at those folders with projects and lists of goals that have been gathering dust in a long box for years. Most likely, this box is not in your office, but in the old closet of your parents' house. True power over your own destiny begins exactly at the point where your slave-like need for approval from those who fathered you ends. If you are still afraid of upsetting them, if you adjust your route so that your mother does not cry and your father does not frown, you are already dead as an independent personality. You have turned into a soulless monument to their unfulfilled expectations. In dark psychology, this is called posthumous existence during life. You go to a job they approve of, marry those they like, and live in fear of breaking the homeostasis of their cozy swamp. Look at the thousands of men in their 30s or 40s who never decided on a big step because of the ghostly "what will the family say?" They are successful exactly enough not to cause envy and unhappy exactly enough to remain convenient. This is the verdict on the system. It sucks the creative energy out of you, turning it into glue to maintain the family facade. You are the fuel for their peace, but you are not obligated to burn so that they are warm. To exit this matrix, you must apply the technique of radical autonomy, recognition of the end of hierarchy. Realize that biological kinship does not give the right to strategic management of your life. You are a separate state with your own border. The secret look into the future. When you make a decision, look not at the reaction of parents in the past, but at the eyes of your unborn son in the future. What will you tell him? That you betrayed your dream so as not to offend his grandmother?
or that you built an empire despite the resistance of the whole world.
The death of the convenient man. Allow them to be disappointed in you. This is the most healing procedure. As soon as you become ungrateful or difficult for them, their levers of pressure will break. You will get freedom that cannot be bought, the freedom to act without looking back. We created this community for the architects of their reality, who are ready to build their lives on the ruins of other people's hopes and prejudices. If you have matured for the transition to protocols of full emotional liberation and influence techniques that will make your will iron, click the button to join our inner circle. There we share tools that will never reach the public domain because of their extreme hardness. Subscribe to the channel right now so that every video becomes a new layer of armor for your mind. Write the phrase, "My life, my choice," in the comments if this episode tore the bandage from your eyes and you saw how you are actually being kept on a leash. Be vigilant. Be free. See you at the top.